Morality is the biggest limitation for you to do anything that you ever wanted in your life. Okay? And before you rob a bank, let me explain how this shit actually works. Okay? Now, we have to ask ourselves, where does morality come from? Okay? And after a bit of digging, you will find the answer, okay? Morality comes from evolution. We develop morals so we can survive in nature. All right, for instance, not stealing other people's food. Okay, if you steal someone else's food, they might die from starvation. And if they die from starvation, you will have less people in your clan. Imagine this is like the caveman days, right? You will have less people in your clan, and you're more likely to die because that guy might have been a hunter, or like he can gather berries and hunt for a fish or something, right? If someone dies, right, you're in more risk, and it's worse off for you in the long run. Okay? And that's a great thing. Don't steal shit from other people. Fair enough, bro. That's why, you shouldn't rob a bank. But let me keep going. So, we develop these traits through evolution, through evolution, through adaptation, through survivorship bias, in a sense. So people who survive get to determine how things work. So, for example, stealing is one thing. Murdering is an obvious one, okay? If one of your clan members dies, then you're more likely to die. You kill other people, you're more likely to die in a primal setting, okay? And of course, it doesn't really help anybody, right? So, like, that's an obvious one. But there's so many other reasons, all right? For example, empathy towards weak people, so to speak, right? Rich people donating to the poor, right? Not wanting people to die, right? Having empathy, right? Is a very big thing. Now, I wanted to tell you that morality is, number one, it can be broken down, okay? And I'll talk about it in a second. And number two, it's kind of faulty. The second one's extremely controversial, so you better get ready. But number one, okay, it can be broken down, right? There's a quote I got, right? If you have the gun and I have a gun, we can talk about the law. If you have a knife and I have a knife, someone's singing outside my fucking room, bro. Anyways, if you have a knife and I have a knife, we can talk about rules. And if both of us come unarmed, we can talk about reason. But if you have a gun and I have nothing, you don't just determine what is right. My life is in your hands, okay? And what it's basically saying is that morality, yeah, it's created by evolution, but things like laws, things like that, they're created by the strong, the people who won. In history, they say that the people who won wrote history. And, that's why history is such a fucking faulty endeavor, and you have to do your own research. Don't trust what your teachers tell you. Don't trust what society tells you. I'm not going to bring up any examples because I don't want to get banned off YouTube and get, agents from a certain country come towards my address, but question everything, okay? But yeah, laws, morality, what is correct is determined by who is the strongest. That is the truth. And people fucking hate to admit that. For example, there's some races you can't criticize, okay? And I'm not talking about black people, okay? I'm not talking about women in terms of sexism. There are people who are a lot more protected than those two classes. One specific one, to be honest. But again, I'm gonna stay silent on that, okay? Okay. Those who are strong determines morality, okay? And number two, It's a controversial one. Morality is faulty. And I guess this stems from number one. The truth is morality is breakable. Very breakable. And it's just that weak people, or should I say normal people, they choose not to break it under any circumstances. Because to them, it means that you're being a bad person. Now, obviously, most people would never murder someone. But if you look at a cat ripping a mouse apart, would you think that the cat is sociopathic and wants to fucking, destroy all living things? No. Okay? Because the cat needs to survive. Okay? And a book that captures this idea extremely well is it was a book by William Golding. Wait, let me search it up. Give me a second. Yeah, the book's called Lord of the Flies. Okay? Yeah, I don't know why I forgot it. I should have remembered. But Lord of the Flies, okay? It illustrates this concept so well. When we go back to evolutionary things, right? Morality and more evidently, common morality, the morality of today, it gets degraded. I wouldn't say it doesn't even exist, but people are quick to chuck that shit out the window if the situation arises. Okay? So that's what I mean by it is breakable. And now comes the main point, which is you can use this to your advantage. Okay? Imagine in a game, in a test, actually, I'm going to take this example. At school, they tell you that you cannot cheat on tests. And what does cheating mean? Collaborating with people. Cheating means using the internet. Cheating means using AI. Collusion, taking other people's ideas. But here's the thing, buddy. Here's the thing. Okay? Here's the thing. All of these things are within your hands. LLMs, right? Large language models, all right? AIs, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, right? They're all in your hands. They're publicly accessible, okay? It is your arsenal. You're like a country, and that's like your fighter jet, for example. You have that. Collaboration with other people, stealing other people's ideas, okay? Stealing other people's ideas. Talking in a test, right? Using what notes you have, using the internet to access information. All of these things are things that you can do, but society is conditioned that you cannot do. Okay? And I'm going to make a very crazy case, but I'm going to say that morality is the limitation. Okay? It's the equivalent of the teacher telling you that, you cannot talk during the test. You cannot collaborate with friends during the test. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk about a few things that you can do to break this limit. Okay? And a few things that big people do, successful people do to break this rule that doesn't really exist. The most common example is stealing from people, copying from people. Okay? The truth is, everything is copied. Okay? Ideas are derived from previous ideas, previous iterations. Okay? So everything is copied. But they tell you not to copy at school. Okay? But that's just fucking bullshit. Okay? Copying is extremely important. And copying will make you 100 times more powerful than the other people around you. People say it's unfair. But who the fuck told you that life had rules? You're born in this world, right? Before your parents say this and that, and society tells you this and that, the truth is there are no rules. Free will does exist. Okay? You can go out tonight and do the most heinous crime you can think of. In theory. Whether you get caught, that's a different question. But copying is back to the example of copying. Everyone should do it, to be honest. Everyone, I mean, really think about it. if I read a book like this one, okay, Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, right, and I take its ideas and I create my own book that's also like a dystopian novel like that one, would I be considered a copier? Like maybe, but who gives a fucking shit? Like nobody cares. Okay, copying is one thing. Number two is this is a business example, and because most people are businesses, but this is a business example. Poaching clients from other people, stealing, so to speak, right? And selling your stuff in other people's stuff, like selling your stuff in other people's networks, selling your service, selling your service to someone else's client, right? Stealing people, so to speak, right? Oh, stealing is so wrong, but I'm not robbing a bank. I'm not, doing shoplifting or something, right? If I have a better service, I deserve that client, and I will fucking rob it from you if I want, right? That's another example. I was gonna bring up murder, but it's actually something that I've heard of billionaires doing in China and across the world, to be honest. But I'm not gonna use that one because there's levels to this, but I'm not gonna bring that one up. But another one is suing people, right? So on one hand you can copy. On the reverse, say you're a big company that's worth like $100 million, you can sue people for whatever the fuck. You have a competitor who's bugging you, fucking sue him for copying one of your ideas 3 years ago. Just fucking go for it, okay? And it's dirty. It really is dirty, but it's in your power, Oh, give me a second. Oh, my business partner just called because I have a call with him. But as I was saying, okay, all these rules and ethics that people put onto you, it's just bullshit, okay? You have to break these limits in order to transcend to that next level. And people just simply don't understand this, okay? And, after this, I want you to break some of these rules. I sound crazy, but break some of these rules. Take someone's ideas, use it for yourself, right? Do something of that. Use something of that sort. You don't understand how powerful you are, right? And you're 100 times more powerful than you could ever believe. So please, all right, stop, getting handcuffed by society and actually free yourself. So yeah, good luck with that.